Alright, back in section 4, now we're in lesson 4, and we're going to make some adjustments to our still life project that we started the last 2 lessons. So under File, go to Open, and we're going to go in and open our still 3 that we developed in section 3. So it should look something like this. First thing we're going to do is add another layer. So open up your Layers panel by going to Layers to get your Layers panel open. Then we're going to add a new layer called, let's see, we're calling this background, and hit Add. And we want our background to be, click your arrow that says lower the current layer to the bottom, and we're going to want that to be our very bottom layer. So you'll see it shows up clear down here at the bottom of our layers. So to create our background, we are going to use the rectangle tool. Make sure that all of your canvas is showing. First of all, I might want to zoom out just once more. So grab your rectangle tool, and we're going to click in the top left corner and drag all the way across and release to create our background. And one of the first things I want to change is I need to open my Fill and Stroke panel, and I want to take off under Stroke Paint. I want to click on the X and make sure that I don't have any outline around my background. I just want a plain background. So go ahead and choose under your color panel. Go ahead and choose whatever color. It should be a lighter color. And you can choose really any other color you want, but we don't want a background to be too distracting. So I want to open my swatches panel and pick a good color here. And I'm going to go with this color here. So now we have the background set, the background color set. Go back to your Layers panel and lock your background so we don't make any adjustments to that by mistake. Now we want to work on our bowl layer. So select your bowl layer and minimize your Layers panel again and go back to your swatches panel. Now we want a nice gray color for our bowl. So find a nice lighter gray color and make sure go grab your selection tool, select your bowl, and you can either drag or how I showed you the right click set fill to fill your bowl with a nice gray color. And again, we want to turn off the stroke outline. So go back to your Fill and Stroke panel, click on your Stroke Paint tab, and choose the X for no paint so we don't have an outline around our bowl. So now I'm going to minimize these 2 panels and go back to my Layers panel, lock my bowl because I'm done with that for now. Now we're going to change the color of the liquid in the decanter. So you can zoom in a little bit on your decanter and get your selection tool and select the bottom arc of our liquid. Go back to your swatches panel and choose a nice dark red color for your liquid. I'm going to go with, that's too dark for me. This one right here looks good. So I have my liquid filled with that nice red color, and then select your ellipse tool, and we're going to do a lighter red for the top of our liquid. So choose a lighter red, just a shade or 2 lighter, to be the top of your liquid. And like we did with our bowl, we want to turn off those lines around our red liquid. So under Stroke Paint, go ahead and hit that X to turn that one off, and then select your lower arc and turn that off as well. So we don't want, that way it should look similar to this, so we don't have any lines around our liquid. So now we want to color the liquid of our glass. And I want to use the same colors that are in my decanter here. So we're going to use a new tool, the dropper tool. But first, so let's first select the base of our liquid in our glass. And then my screen doesn't have enough room to show my dropper tool, so you might have to click on these arrows down here at the bottom and select dropper to get that tool selected. So now with this dropper tool, any color I click on is going to fill my selection with that color. So I want to go ahead and click on this dark red color of my decanter, and you'll see that it appears, the same red appears in my liquid in my glass. So now I want to select the ellipse at the top of that liquid and go back and grab my dropper tool again and select the top the lighter red color to fill the red in my liquid. And of course, with the liquid in our glass, we're going to turn off our stroke as well. So your image right now should look similar to this. Now we're going to add some gradient to our background. So back in your layers panel, go ahead and minimize your fill and stroke and grab your layers panel for now. Let's lock everything except our background because we're going to be making some adjustments to that. So make sure your background layer is selected. So select your background layer and then go back to your fill and stroke panel. And this selection right here will give us a linear gradient. So after reading the text, you should know that a gradient kind of fades from one side to the other, or fades from one color to another. And so by clicking linear gradient, we should have a nice gradient on our background that goes from full color on the left side and fades to white over on the right. And now we're going to make some adjustments to our gradient using the gradient tool. So make sure that you are able to see your full canvas in your screen. And then the gradient tool is over where our dropper tool was. So now we're going to choose gradient to grab our gradient tool. And you see this line appear across here representing our gradient with our background. So on the canvas, we're going to click and drag the square handle right here to the bottom right corner, right there. So right now your gradient should now be going from bottom to top. Then we're going to grab the circle handle and take that to the top left corner. So right now we're basically just kind of telling our gradient how we want it to look. We want it to start over here and fade off to the upper left side. So now I want to find a color swatch that is similar to my gradient line. So I'm going to go back to where the color that I chose, I think it was right around here. So choose a color that was similar. Oops. Let's minimize this fill and stroke and minimize our layers here. There we go. Okay, so now I want to find a similar color, and I'm going to drag that color over to the middle of our gradient line. And you'll see it just kind of added a stopper right there to our gradient line. And then we can click and drag that stopper to kind of just make some adjustments to our gradient background. And we can make more adjustments to our gradient by going back to our fill and stroke. So if you select your square stopper here in the bottom right corner, you can drag your sliders here to kind of adjust how your gradient looks. So you can make it lighter and darker, greener. You can slide it all along the scales to change whatever color you want it to be. And same with this diamond stopper. You can change, the HSL tab is where you can really change the lightness and darkness of your colors. So set your tabs however you like your color. And this would be a good pausing point right now to go up and hit File and Save, just to make sure your project is saved. And remember, this should be under section 4 now and called still 4. So save your project. Now we're going to move into lesson 5 where we add grapes to our bowl. So go under your layers tab and we're going to add a new layer and call it grapes. And we're going to move this grapes layer all the way to the top for now. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit on my bowl because we're going to be putting these grapes in our bowl. So first I'm going to need to take the ellipse tool and draw a grape. So make a nice oval shape about that size for a grape. And then you're going to need to pick under your swatches panel a nice purple color for your grape. I think I will go with this dark purple here. This lighter purple looks good. Okay, so I picked my purple color. Now I want to make sure that under my fill and stroke panel that my stroke is turned off if it hasn't already, because I don't want a line around my grapes. So now with our grape selected, we're going to go to the fill tab, and we added a linear gradient to our background, but with our grape we're going to add a radial gradient. So select radial gradient, and then you might want to zoom in because we're going to do some work here on our grapes. So I selected radial gradient, then I'm going to go over and choose my gradient tool to make some adjustments. With the round stop marker selected, we're going to go over and make sure that our alpha slider is all the way over here to the right. So click and drag it all the way over to the right, and then click on the square stop tab, and we're going to adjust the lightness of our grape so that's just a little pink in the middle. And then with our gradient tool, we're going to also move that gradient so it's kind of shining up onto the side of our grape. And then you can just kind of adjust your stoppers here until the grape is just how you want it. Once you're happy with your grape, we're going to zoom back out, and we're going to use that grape to make a bunch of other grapes. So now that I've seen it in kind of proportion with my bowl, I'm going to make mine just a little smaller because I'm going to then copy and paste this grape to make a whole bunch more. So have your grape selected, and by hitting Control-C, we've copied the grape. And I just want to double check and make sure that I'm still on my grapes layer. Good. And once I've copied that grape by hitting Control-C, I'm going to hit Control-V and move my mouse around to paste a whole bunch more grapes. So we're going to fill this bowl with grapes, so keep on pasting until you have a bowl full of grapes. Make sure you go some below the line, some above the line, and fill your bowl completely. Once you have created all the grapes that you want, fill in all your spaces there. Now we're going to take this grapes layer, and we want them to look like they're inside of our bowl. So we want to move that grapes layer so that it's below our bowl layer over here in our layer panel. And so then you can see that now our bowl comes out in front of all of our grapes. So once you've done that, make sure you might have to rearrange some of your grapes to make sure that they all fit within the bowl, and that you don't really want any spaces, big gaps between any of your grapes. So kind of make some adjustments to make your bowl look like it's full of grapes. Then one last adjustment we'll need to make is we don't want all of our grapes looking like they are facing the same way. So go ahead and double click on a lot of these to rotate them and make them sit in different directions so that they're not all just the same grape. We want it to be, we want it to look like someone threw a whole bunch of grapes into this bowl. So go ahead and click on grapes individually and rotate them just a little bit so that they don't all look the same. And keep going until you're satisfied with how your grapes look. And then that will be it for this project. Make sure you save it, and you will be zipping this project. You will be submitting this project along with your colors project for the assignment 4A.